Hello and welcome to the second video of this series, the small series of how to make simple game with Unity. In this video, we will learn about programming, how to add force to an object and make it move. In this video, we will create the player movement. Don't be afraid, it's easy, just follow along and you will learn. Let's get started. Okay, first thing, we have to make script to start programming, and we will do that by selecting the player, go down, click on add component and type player movement, and automatically it will appear new script, or we'll just say new script and we'll name it player movement. Click enter and now it's created. Double click on here or on this new file that created here and wait for it to open. And now this is the script after it opened, so don't be afraid. I know it's a little bit too much. Just basically you will focus what's inside this class, and the class is the file that we made, player movement. Inside the class we have two functions, void start and void update. This is the default functions that comes with Unity when you create a new C# class. The start function will run when the game starts or when the object starts. So anything between these curly brackets will be executed or run just when this object starts. Alright? And the update function is like said here, update calls once per frame. So depending on your computer, once per frame the update function will be running. So if your computer powerful enough, maybe it's 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second or even more frames per second. So anything between these curly brackets of the update function will be executed more than once in a second. So let's start by making a message, right? Just a simple code. We will type debug.log, right? And we will do this parentheses and inside them double quotations, and we will write hello you. And after we finish writing our first command or line of code, we will have to make a semicolon at the end of it. Remember, C# is case sensitive, so small letter or big letter is important, and at each command you finish or you finish typing, you have to put semicolon, because C# understands that. Whereas semicolon, that means the line ends here. So let's save it by Ctrl S and go back to Unity. Give it a moment to processing just what we wrote and saved. And if we hit play, you will see a small message right here says hello you. You can open it from the console. Here it will appear and show you all the warnings, the errors, and the messages you put. If you don't have it right here, you can go just simply to Window and go to General Console, or you can see here the shortcut for it is Ctrl+Shift+C. Alright, carry on. Let's do something a little bit fun. Okay, stop the play mode, go back to the Visual Studio. Let's make something a little bit more fun. So we will write here public rigid body, and we will name it RP. This RP is our name, or basically it's the nickname for the rigid body, so we can use it inside our code. So we can reference it just by saying rp.add force, right? Now open parentheses and just close it. But you can see this red line appears under add force. That means it's something wrong or not complete. When we stop on it, we can see now say void rigid body dot add force, open parentheses, vector 3 force for smooth. Alright, this means if I just put 0, comma, 0, comma, and 0, the red line goes away. That's because this function, the add force function, needs 3 inputs: the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. So if I put right here about, let's say 500, and Control C to save it, go back to Unity, give it a moment of processing, and hit play. What you will see right now here in the game menu is nothing happened, and we have a warning: unassigned reference. Alright, stop the play mode, go back to player, and that happens because we said our rigid body is public, so we need to drag this rigid body component to here. See, you can see the error: assign the RB variable of the player movement. So when we hit play, what you will see right now in the game, the ball just moved a little bit and stopped. That's because the start function, as I explained earlier, it's happening when the object starts, or basically when the game starts. So this object is starting when the game starts. So it gives this object force by 500 in the z-axis, and the force is just 500 once. That's why the object stopped. So stopping the play mode, go back here, let's make it, I don't know, 1000. Control C to save it, go back to Unity, give it a minute. Alright, that's done. Click play, and let's see, it will move further. See, and let's start and stop moving right now. So let's start coding our player movement. Stop the gameplay, go back to Visual Studio, and let's delete this, or we can Control C by copying it, delete this one, Control V to paste it, and maybe we will put here 200 only. Control C. So the update function, as we explained earlier, it's called once per frame. That means this line of code will be executed more than once. So hitting play and see what's gonna happen. And as you can see, it's flown right out of this ground. Alright, just tapping the game. That was very, very fast. So why don't we make it 50? Control C to save, go back to Unity, and let's try this one more time. As you can see, it's very much fast. So how do we control the speed? Closing the game and go back to Visual Studio. So if you want to make a little bit control over the speed, so that's the speed doesn't make it differ from one computer to another, even if it's powerful or not, we're gonna multiply this value by a function called time dot delta time. It's calculating all the frames and converting them to the real time. I know it's a little bit too much to understand right now. Just follow along. Control C, go back to Unity, give it a moment. Alright, just hit play and you will see the difference. The player will not move as fast as they were moving. As you can see, it's nothing happening here. Before, the 50 force, it was just flying right from the ground. But if you press on the player here, you can actually see it's moving just very, very slow. So we just crank up the speed a little bit higher, go back to Visual Studio, and maybe give this 200. Control C to save it, Control-C to save it, go back to Unity and pressing play. Let's see what happens. As you can see, the ball is moving a little bit slower, maybe faster than the previous one, so let's give it 2000. Save, back, it's the usual thing. Alright, pressing play, and as you can see, just flowing out the ground. So you have to play with the value a little bit so you can find your perfect or preferred speed to move. So as you can see right now, after a little bit playing with the values, I found my perfect speed is 400. Maybe it will differ on your computer or on your liking of the speed in the game. 400 is more than enough for me. Carry on. So after we find our perfect or likable value for the speed, so we go back here, and right here we are calculating physics. So it's basically adding force to an object is physics. Unity like it when you use fixed update to calculate physics. It makes a little bit different for Unity game engine to understand this line of code more. As you can see earlier, it worked perfectly, but with fixed update, it's more likable for the performance. So it actually doesn't, cost you much performance. The games will play as usual, nothing will change, just for the Unity game engine. Just keep that in mind for the future. Maybe you will need it someday. And after that, as you can see here, this line here, it's a little bit gray because it has two slashes in front of it. That's mean it's a comment. So we can make our line of code, this line of code, a comment. So comment will not run or execute by any means, and we can turn off this line of code if we want, or maybe we can just simply do double slashes here and say this line of code is for player movement. Simple as that. And if you don't want it, it's okay, but just for understanding your codes, or maybe you're giving someone else to work on your code so they can understand what it is and what actually do. Now we are at the end of our video. If you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe to get notified when we upload a new video. And then in the next video, we will learn how to make our player move by controlling it with the keyboard. So stay tuned for how to make a simple game in Unity. See you in the next video.